Okay, hello everyone. Today I would like to quickly talk about the learning outcomes that you are writing for each session across your scheme of work for your modules. I would like to talk about learning outcomes, writing clear and effective learning outcomes for your schemes of work, and especially the importance of not using the word understand within your learning outcomes. Good module design ensures students are transformed by their learning. Creating transformative themes when designing your work is the first step. If you want to dig into some of the theories around this, I recommend Peter Jarvis. I've been reading a lot of his work on contemporary learning theories. He kind of digs into Kolb's learning cycle and has developed a new framework for the transformation of the person through learning. So I recommend, if you're interested in this type of thing, to maybe check out a little bit of Peter Jarvis. Basically, when you're designing your scheme of work, we would like you to consider themes. The themes that we design shape the way that students think about the subject and how they develop skills and values related to the discipline. From these themes emerges student comprehension, which bridges the abstract to create concrete learning outcomes that describe how students will make use of the module content, how you want them to develop from the things that you want them to learn. We want students to be able to do something with the knowledge that they're learning across our modules. Student comprehension is the knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes that are associated with learning and may or may not be visible or measurable. That's why we need to design learning outcomes that we can measure how the students are successfully progressing. So, student comprehension. What knowledge and concepts are essential for students to learn? What skills and ways of thinking will students need to develop? And which attitudes and values will help students appreciate the subject? Learning outcomes. Learning outcomes are statements that provide measurable evidence of the comprehension that you want the students to gain. Learning outcomes give you the evidence to see the quality of student knowledge, skills, and attitudes they will learn across your module and can reflect differing levels of thinking or mastery. Some learning outcomes may be geared at getting students to show how they comprehend a concept, and others are getting them to create something new from that knowledge. Learning outcomes usually follow the format: at the end of a session, successful students will be able to insert verb, insert knowledge, insert skills, values, attitudes that the students are expected to develop. The verb in learning outcomes should not be understand, as this is not descriptive of the type or level of understanding that we expect the students to learn. Some knowledge outcomes are geared towards knowledge acquisition and comprehension, some towards analysing and evaluating what has already been created, and some towards synthesising and creating the new and the different. So we can use things like analyse and evaluate. What skills do students need to pull apart the existing knowledge to look at it critically and judge it? Assess, analyse, compare, contrast, deconstruct, justify, appraise, critique. These are all words that we can use to fully get the students to demonstrate the learning actively. Synthesize and create. What skills do students need to combine and build on existing knowledge to produce something new? Compose, design, generate, construct, develop, hypothesize, invent, formulate. And finally, know. What is the fundamental, foundational knowledge and skills that students should remember and comprehend across your module? Explain, demonstrate, identify, reproduce, recognize, define, translate. As an example of some of the learning outcomes from my module on Year 2 of Management, as you can see in this slide, the lecture will focus on reflective writing, reflective cycles, and learning styles. We looked at leadership and conflict management, conflict role play scenarios, and debating ideas for correctly managing conflict. That was the focus of the lecture, the themes that we were looking at that week. And the learning outcomes that I designed were to analyse and evaluate conflict management, critically evaluate theory regarding learning styles and reflective writing cycles, and demonstrate active scenarios for successfully managing conflict. These are all measurable learning outcomes that the students can demonstrate actively. So for this session, we firstly looked at the theory regarding reflective learning cycles. We looked at neuromyths regarding learning styles, and that there is very little empirical evidence to suggest any valid notion regarding differing learning styles and whether they actually exist, and whether this theory is solely based on individual student attitudes and perhaps behaviours and preferences. We also engaged with active group discussion around conflict management. Students were given vignettes featuring details of certain conflict scenarios, and in small groups they had to debate the scenario and reach a conflict management solution. Students then had to present their solutions to the group, and then we engaged in peer and tutor feedback on the successful nature of their decision making. So the students were actively demonstrating, evaluating, analysing and critically engaging with the subject matter and the theme across that week. And that's what we would like you to do as tutors. So please don't write learning outcomes for your session that include the word understand, because it's not a measurable concept. Thank you very much.